All right, in the first part, we saw how we can actually use the data efficiently to create the Starbucks Toronto visualization. In the second part, we will try to open the Starbucks data and learn a bit more about trade area analysis and how they function. So to do this, we have our different files, and we will start by opening up our QGIS that you have installed. So just open your QGIS. It might take some time to load, but that's not really a problem. Note that loading time varies depending on your computer and the version you're using. I'm using long-term release 3.16, but that's not really an issue. You might be using a later version or an earlier. The things that we're doing right now in GIS are pretty basic, so it should work on any version throughout the board. Once the version is loaded, and loading time depends on the time it takes to restore the plugins, we can refer to actually open our last open project, which would be the Toronto, with the locations of Starbucks and the census tracts that we actually colored nicely with the backgrounds, and you have at the same time the location of the different Starbucks stores. Now, for those that never used QGIS, one important thing that we can usually use is the processing toolbar. So we are going to add the processing toolbar, and just a reminder where it's located. Under panels, processing toolbar. So you have to go to view, panels, and processing toolbar to get there. And I really like how we can use in the Mac the browse function. I don't think that Windows has that, but here is using it. So view, panels, processing toolbox. All right, so once we've added it, we have sort of a search engine that allows us for searching what we want. And we're going to search for Thiessen Polygons. Now notice that comes up is Voronoi Polygons, because actually, other than the geographers community, everyone calls Thiessen Polygons Voronoi Polygons or Voronoi diagrams. So there we go. So let's double click on the Voronoi Polygons. Choose all layer of Starbucks that you want to add, that you want to create the trade areas, and then save it to a file. Let's save it in the same directory we're working in our projects. So in my case, it's the folder data. Change the name to Starbucks _ Thiessen. Great. And now click run. There you go. You've now created a nice overview of the trade areas in Toronto. And if you look at downtown, you can see that downtown there's a much bigger clustering than in the outskirts of the Greater Toronto area. Let's do some quick editing of our Toronto layer and change the colors a little bit. So let's go to Simple Fill. Under Simple Fill, let's choose No Brush and click OK. And just drag this layer to the top by holding it and just dragging it to the top. There you go. Let's change it a little bit more so we can familiarize ourselves with changing and designing layers depending on colors. Simple Fill, and again, No Brush. And let's do it red. So let's go full red, and let's do it a bit thicker. So stroke width to 0.25. And there you go. We've got it now here. You know what? I think I'm just going to make it even a bit thicker. So I'm just going to change it to 0.4. Okay, so the line width is even further. And I'm going to Simple Fill here. Again, No Brush on the Starbucks. Thiessen layers. Okay, good. So now I've got a contrasting layer of the location of the Thiessen polygons that's corresponding to our trade areas and our Toronto census tracts. Great. As you can see that there are some census tracts that have less trade areas, and the more downtown we go, the more trade areas we really have. And that's really what we want to know, because we can work with this then to make certain decisions. Now, it's interesting to see how trade areas work in terms of market competition. Look at downtown, for instance. How many stores are located with smaller trade areas versus in the outskirts of the downtown core. And it's these things that we usually ask ourselves when we are looking at the trade areas analysis, so that we can make better decisions on market competition and figure out what changes we can do depending on our businesses to really see how businesses compete against each other. And as you know, trade areas are smaller. We can probably envision that to gain a fair competition, they must do a better job than the adjacent store. So that's how basically retailers have to figure out their marketing mix to make better decisions from a standpoint of market competitions in trade areas. Great. So thanks very much for watching. Don't forget to save the project. Go over to Project, Save As, and I'm going to call it Toronto 2 Thiessen. Just a reminder that we had Thiessen Polygons. All right. Thanks very much.